A very good evening, folks, and welcome to Alliance on the Move. I'm privileged to be joined by Kemraj Ramchatan, the leader of the Alliance for Change. And Kemraj, I see we have Jurita is on with us as well. So let me bring her in one time. Jurita Finance, as you know, is a member of parliament. And I haven't been at this end for a little while, so I'm very, very excited to be back. Jurita, Kemraj, welcome to Alliance on the Move on another weekend.
Yeah, well, let me just introduce ourselves. I'm the Jagabat, you're the Land Crapo, and we have the Trench Crapo on the right of the screen. Look, I'm glad to be here, but these are not nice circumstances in which, we are seeing persecution of dissenting voices in this democracy. And it is a terrible situation. So I would urge that, Barbicians pay attention to what is happening. And of course, like every other Saturday night program, the Alliance for Change is going to ensure that it brings to you the facts and the information that will matter in your lives. And of course, one of the big ones is, of course, the persecution of our very good friend here. We have the GPL issues. I think we're going to talk continuously on these programs on cost of living, how it's affecting Berbice. I was up at Berbice yesterday, spoke to some people and so on, and it is not nice what I am hearing. And of course, we're going to talk on some COVID issues.
Yep. You know, a lot is happening. A lot is happening on the COVID front. A lot is happening on the economic front, and Teresa can really, give us some context where that is concerned. And people feeling the squeeze in this country, Kemraj. People feeling the squeeze in this country. But if we start from the top, you did talk about how they're trying to stifle dissenting views in this country. Kamraj, I think we are grateful in this country, not only in the AFC but in this country for a leader like you, because you've always talked to us about these issues and about what comes with the territory being a politician in this country and a young politician. You always talk about the belly of the beast and how these guys operate. So when these circumstances come, we are not surprised by them in and of themselves, but we are surprised that in this day and age, this is the direction in which any government would want to pursue its opponents.
So true. We're going to mention more, but I want to hear Juretta too on the issue. Let's have a woman's voice on the issue.
Good night, guys. Good night. First of all, sorry for creeping in. Just a few seconds late, but I actually
Mhm.
had a very interesting meeting with some members of the youth arm, some old members and some new members of the youth arm, and it's very interesting to hear young people's perspective as to what is going on right now. I know one particular person, one of the new members, was actually saying that they just, it's unbelievable the fact that we are an oil producing country, and the level of poverty and so forth that we're experiencing in the country right now. They're feeling it at the level of their homes, and it's crazy, and it's very uplifting to see those young people deciding to step out and step into politics and to have their views out there and be heard. And I think this is what the Alliance for Change is all about. And I always pride myself, I can use this opportunity now on Alliance on the Move to say, I always pride myself when having discussions with new recruits that the Alliance for Change is the most democratic party in this country, and we have a level of liberal democracy unlike any other. And it was amazing to hear a person say, well, yeah, we know this, we see this, and that's why we're here, because no matter what background you're from and so on and so forth, the party position is that everyone's views is respected. And it is the most wonderful thing that about the Alliance for Change. So it was a very good meet. I think we started at 3 o'clock and we just wrapped up to be here. So you can just imagine it's so lovely to meet with people, young people, and here. But on that's on a brighter note, when it comes to the cost of living and what we're experiencing right now,
But before you head there, I'm very happy that our young people are meeting, whether it's AFC or the young people of the other parties in the coalition, because our young people need so much guidance now. You talk about a cost of living, for instance. These guys promise 50,000 jobs. Where are they pulling that out from? And I think COVID has only exacerbated the job market in terms of people having not wanting to have a lot of employees clustered and that kind of stuff. And I don't think we are very suited or we understand fully this remote work. I think it can work for us in a lot of instances, but it's not something we have really examined. And on a subsequent program, maybe we can talk about the missed opportunities in COVID-19 for this installed regime, because we could have looked at it, and in the words of this fellow who was Barack Obama's chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, he says, "Never let a crisis go to waste." We could have done some big things. The way in which we handle currency as a country, to pay for anything is very tedious. You got to walk around with lots of cash. You always got to be going in and out of a bank or an ATM or something like that. Plastic is not used a lot here, and we saw that in a very stark manner when government officials had to be sharing out COVID cash grant and farmers cash grant, going from almost bottom house to bottom house with suitcases of money. Right, this is the 21st century, so we could have been looking at making the use of plastic, making the use of credit cards or debit cards more pervasive, more ubiquitous. But I think we've missed lots of opportunities. But our young people need guidance. They want work. They want to study. They don't want to necessarily be owing anybody money. But this is where we are. If it's not, as you said, the economic concern is the security. On a daily basis, Kemraj headed the security sector, and wonderfully so for a long time. You step out your house, young people are being robbed out there. So they got a lot of concern. So I'm just happy to underscore that they're meeting. You guys are meeting and formulating and just thinking about issues and trying to grapple with them and formulate plans and how you're going to go about tackling some of these very issues. That's very important.
Oh, no, I want to commend the effort here of Juretta. It is important that the younger people be brought. I notice also another party leader, Aubrey Norton. I commend his effort also of creating what is called political education, and he started as of today. We have been trying as best to get some of the youngsters to come. A lot of them had excused themselves on COVID and a number of other issues. But it is important that this guidance and political education be granted to them. And we have a wonderful central headquarters there in Railway Line. And I'm glad that, Juretta, you did that. I hope that there are some Berbicians in the mix too. If they couldn't come, they could have been there via Zoom, like we are doing this program. Indeed, look, a lot of things in relation to this plastic and this money, we tried as best. But you know what? Guyanese simply like to deal with cash because they avoid what is called the recording of the transaction. And Guyanese try as best because they suspect that when transactions are recorded, let's say a check, if you pay by a check and so on, somehow the GRA will get to know. And Guyanese are massive tax avoiders and tax evaders. We found that out when we went in 2015 into government. And I'll tell you what, we had to call up a fellow named Stacia. And he came back and has found that, so much of our taxation, we the people, the members of the public, the GRA, were being robbed, literally, as a result of all manner of illegitimate methods and illegal methods, avoidance and what you call evasion. And he managed to get over $94 billion more as a result of taxation. I mean, the thing was massive. And, a little black boy snatch your chain out there. You want for killie. A little coolie boy snatch your chain, you want for killie. But when you got big businessmen robbing billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, that is economics. For the little black boy or coolie boy, that is larceny. That is robbery. That is what we got in this country.
Yeah.
Lots of them don't pay their taxes. Lots of people avoid. And and this is the threshold that Berbicians must understand too. A lot, it happens in Berbice too. I have seen people cutting plenty rice. When you ask them, I remember you remember that too. They come in, they place there for firearm license. And you remember I put a requirement that you got to pay your taxes.
Yeah,
When the
yeah,
man
yeah.
tell me, buy me a cut, 9,000 bag rice, me deserve to get one firearm. I say, well, how much tax you pay? You pay $3,000 tax. I say, you're not shame, and you want licensed firearm? Well, go and get your taxes in order now that you cut 9,000 bag rice, and then you'll get your firearm. The police commander, the commissioner, and the board will approve it. But this is what we have. And so all of that helps, lessen the amount of revenues we can collect. But of
Cameron,
course, people don't want to believe that that is a good thing. And that is
and
what
you
is
know,
causing so many hardships too.
I want to underscore that point because I saw quite a number of people. I saw some government officials. I saw three ministers just during the course of the day trying to pull out one weed run by the magistrates court in Georgetown. They call it a cleanup. Three of them struggling to pull out one weed. You could tell this is not what a custom doing at all. This is photo op,
Yeah.
right? To
It's
try to
photo
pretend
shoot.
that we care about
It
a
was a
cleanly
photo shoot,
and
Sarah. You gotta call it
environment.
what it was. It was a
All
photo
right, but
shoot.
I thought they were looking for the trench crappos and so on. That's what I thought was happening there.
Yeah.
But that being
But
said,
Sharon, I
Raj,
want to interject on that.
uh,
Now, I was saying I want to interject on that specific point because I had to call it out today because when I saw the some news agencies taking the pictures and posting it up and saying that this cleanup exercise and the president is there with members of the cabinet, right? And I had to remind persons that what the PVP ruled for 23 years, and during that 23 years Georgetown was known as a garbage city.
and
It
has
was
returned
when
there.
the coalition came into office.
That's right.
The coalition did extensive work to restore Georgetown, and the beautification project was commended throughout the Caribbean all over because of the transformation that was done. We see now, and mind you, that was done in complete collaboration with the local authority, and I have to say that right now, and I say this without any reservation because it is a fact. Okay, I can't be dragged in for peddling misinformation. This is how it happens with the PVP. What they did immediately as I read the headline that government in collaboration with private sector is going to launch this massive cleanup exercise. The people so well that just the headline you can just go ahead with the entire story, and it simply means that this is another action by the government to directly transfer tax dollars from the coffers into the hands of a selected few in the private sector. That is what they're doing. That is why they're completely avoiding including the local authority body into that
Which
process,
has to be
right?
called out. Which
You
has to
have
be
to
called
call
out.
it out. And some people are out there sharing, they're trying to say that, this is a good thing. Why are you beating it? But you have to call it out. You know why? Because if something costs $10 million, for them it's gonna cost 15 or $20 million. That's how it works
Judith,
for them.
there's
And somebody getting a kickback at the end of it.
there's another side to that too. And again, I want to circle back to what Cameron was talking about the farmers. The other side of that too is it would not be in that state if certain business people would pay their taxes.
That's right.
Pay your taxes so City Hall can hire more people or can remunerate people properly to do that kind of work. If you
It is
pay
so
your
true.
taxes, City
That
Hall
is true.
tells us to show us.
But yeah. No, but I want to
Yeah,
make this additional
if
point to the
City Hall tells
businessmen
us
in
the
the
amount of people
city.
that owes tax,
Yes.
we are going to be shocked because it's billions of dollars again in taxes that
Hundreds
are
of
owed.
billions.
And so you beat them for not being able to clean up the city properly, but then you don't say to I would rather see the president acting presidential and saying to the private sector, pay your taxes, pay your taxes, and the government itself paying its taxes so that City Hall can do efficiently what City Hall does. The other point I want to underscore here, Kemraj, the other point is that PPP do not seem to like to have systems function properly.
Absolutely.
So you bypass City Hall, which is the heart and soul of doing this kind of work. and you take it on because of the political thing. They don't like commissions. They don't like boards. They seem to bypass all of these things and usurp the function. You cannot run a society and a democracy like that.
Absolutely. I want to make that additional point about that. It's the institutions of the land that must be allowed to do the work that are necessary, like cleaning up because you're not going to get these businessmen and these policemen and soldier by and so on every day, or the president coming out to pull out that weed. This is important. It is obviously a lack of perception, a lack of understanding of what it is required of government and the president as to how you get the city, that spot of the country where it must shine, as it were. And we are not getting that. We immediately did that in 2015 after we got into government. We got the canals, everything dug, all the alleyways cleaned up, the whole country, and it was internationalized and regionalized. Georgetown is back to its garden city status. Immediately after coming out of government, the thing gone back nasty again because it's 18 months, they didn't clean it up. And now
Yeah,
they're going and
that is an
pick up the thing.
important point you've raised there. It's an important point you've raised because it's not just cleaning it up for one day. It's the
Exactly.
sustainability. And
That's
I
right.
remember, I was thinking as a citizen, we're going to know if this cleanup of Georgetown on the Avenue AFC is sustainable when we see it happening every day. And I am privileged to say that for 5 years, you walk down an avenue, there was always somebody chopping grass, somebody cleaning the drain, somebody cleaning the canal. For 5 consistent years, you had that activity happening. Soon as these guys come back, you see piles of garbage appearing around Stabrook Market, on Regent Street, and all over the place like that. So it's the consistency going to speak to the success, not one day, people coming up and posing up for photo ops and that kind of stuff, right? A lot of them were out there by the big fire you had by the DPP's office, standing around looking, right? Where is the report for that fire? What is going to be done now? You see, they got to photo ops. They got to photo ops.
And do you know who it is that dumped the most garbage in and around, making the city look so nasty?
It's a business people.
I mean, apart from very reckless consumers, is the businessmen. They just tell some of them junkies, take a wheelbarrow and shove it down at the corner of the street by the rubbish heap there. Rubbish heaps were created by some of the very irresponsible businessmen. I had an office in and around that Wellington Street there, next to the church, at King Street. Boss, and I used to see literally businessmen telling some of the guys, go shove it to the corner. So look, they got a dump site just next door, just next to the parapet. And so a lot of it has also been caused by these businessmen. They do not want to take a systematic approach into garbage collection, which is supposed to be controlled and come under the legislative arrangement of the city council. And that happens to New Amsterdam. That happens to Rosal. That happens to Corriverton here in Berbice. Now we're doing the Berbice show. But it's consistently big businesses that create the most the discarded materials and garbage. They don't want to pay sometimes their taxes or sufficient taxes. They're always trying to avoid and evade and so on. And you get that happening. And we're going to have this, plastic bags and this, blocking up the trenches, the alleyways, and a whole host of places. If you go and you see what happens even at the seawall, when they flush them things out, when they open the cokers, all come back at the seawall and so on. We have a very bad environmental culture here in Guyana.
Yeah.
And it starts with the people that bring in all these items. That is why in countries now they're banning plastics and all kind of thing.
I think if the administration and Irfan Ali means well for this country, and especially for our national capital city, the seat of the government of the day, installed or otherwise, they would instruct that the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development develop a more harmonious relationship with City Hall. That's number one. Number two, that the local government body that supervises these municipalities and RDCs and so forth also adopt that kind of approach to working with them and not against them. And again, to underscore the point, tell the business community, pay your taxes, pay your taxes. And that is a good start. That is a good start. And so they won't have to come in the street every other day or every other month for photo ops.
Yeah,
But
that is so
that's the
true.
whole point of it. That's what they want to do. We need to, persons need to just understand that that's what the PP does. They're not going to tell the business community to pay their taxes. When they went into office, they did the direct opposite of that. They went in to remove some taxes, right? So they went into the direct opposite of that. And what they're doing, of course, they're not going to be sustainability of the city in terms of keeping the city clean, and so that's not something on their agenda, because if it's done like that, it should be done through city hall in that manner, the right manner. That is, and let's just not pretend city hall is a building with some people. City hall houses the elected officials. The people of Georgetown came together and they said, this is a group of people that we want to manage our affairs. Let's just get that clear. This is not a couple of people saying that they want to be in charge of this. The people elected them to be in charge of those things. And the current administration, the PPP, is basically saying, we don't give a damn about who the people elect. We are going to decide on how this is done, because we will need to make sure that the people that we want to direct monies to clean up and so forth, that they get it, whether or not they're even living in Georgetown, I dare say. They're going to make sure that it goes that way. And I have a big issue with the way in which resources and the wealth of this country is being distributed, because I'm going to further say that it's a gang, Sherrod. It's a gang, a few people in a little gang that this money is being distributed to all the time. And you know what is happening? The wider population is going deeper and deeper into poverty. I made a point today also that they have this low income housing project, and it's at the point right now that low income earners can't afford the low income houses. So now I'm being told, I'm reliably informed, that persons are calling up their business associates and so to come in and buy 3 4 properties as investment properties, so they can rent it out and so forth. That is a state that we're in. That's why we have to speak out about this thing. It's not about how that the fact that they're going out there and doing this project, but the point that we're trying to hit home to persons are they are deliberately stifling any form of growth for the smaller section, the wider section of society, the low income earners in this country. And the monies that they're injecting into these projects, those monies are just a few people. They're not going to go to City Hall, because they can't control. If it goes to City Hall, they're not going to be able to control who the money goes to actually clean up the city. It's going to go through a very candid process. They don't want that. It's a big secret. Sharon, you're not going to hear the last of this tonight, because I can tell you I'm going to dig into this some more.
And
Yeah, look, this
I'm happy,
inequality, the
yeah, I'm
inequalities
happy
that
that
she's
was
talking
mentioned.
about. Go ahead,
Kemraj,
Sharon. And we,
you spoke about the taxes that was raised by GRA, and it was the same PPP who said, we were raising too much taxes. We are raising too much taxes, and now they're borrowing like crazy. They wish we had some of those same taxes now to
yeah,
offset some of the expenditures that they're creating unnecessarily. Right? That's number one. And the second issue is, I noticed the other day on an allied issue that asphalt plant that the APNU
They
AFC brought
condemn.
in,
They condemn.
and help us to do a lot of roads very nicely, and they condemn. They were boasting that the asphalt plant made over 100 and something million in profit. Kemraj, what you make of
no,
these
no, no.
people?
Here, these people ain't got no shame, boy. I have told you so many times. They are jagabats and trench crappos and land crappos. So they could come and charge me for saying that. But that is what they are, basically. Very stupid, dunce, and foolish, quite frankly. And I've been saying that all along. What they're doing now is just doing vote getting ploys. Oh, I, Irfan Ali, will go and pluck out a couple weeds, and they will be the photo shooting, photo shopping, and whatever. And then they'll drag, now that they've given a month's bonus to the discipline services, ensure that they come and pick up all the garbage and all kinds of things. People got to understand that they're humiliating them there. It is a form of humiliation. Your policemen got to make sure, if it was like, say, a crisis after a tremendous tsunami come and flood up the city and you need cleaning up and so on, you call on all these institutions, public servants, your businessmen and so on. But there is no need for that. We are not in any tsunami here or the aftermath of any emergency flooding and so on. What you need is the institutions. Give them money to the people and do the necessary things. But as you know, we going to repeat ourselves here. It is important that these systems be put back in place,
Yeah.
because it's a one-off exercise for these chaps to just go get their foot in some mud. That's nice. It is nice. I could support that. But when tomorrow comes, when next month comes, and the garbage pile up because of the irresponsible behavior of those same businessmen that was going there, what happens? Garbage city again. And that is not the way to do things. You have to have some contractors, just like the Sivan and Puran brothers that pick
Yeah.
up our garbage and so on. The thing must be specialized services in the city, even cleaning the roads. You got to bring in some of them trucks that you have, that like in New York, they wash the roads off of the mud and everything, scrape it off and then throw the water and wash it off, and you get looking brand new. But not, and we can afford all of that now with the oil monies that we have. We can afford it. It is just the priorities and spending. But no, they're going to want to create this vote getting ply. Oh, look how hard we walk in. Look how the city looking clean. And they got some jagabats out there. This is genuine jagabats now. They got some genuine people out there who feel that what a wonderful job you find them doing. They don't understand that this is but madness. And so you're going to get that kind of polarized attitude. People who feel that this is what a great thing that they're doing. It is not great. It is a veneer. It is a cover-up, a kind of a surface covering, because it now distracts from a lot of nonsense that they're doing. And they've gone on to this exercise, playing the politics and so on. So it is going to just fall apart in a couple of weeks' time when the garbage come back again. You got to get
And when
people
hunger
always
starts breaking people and they forget about this and they
Yeah.
worry about the pockets, right?
That's
Because
right.
these
That's
were
right.
the guys who say you can't eat roads, right?
Well,
You can't eat the drains,
you
right?
Well,
These are
can't
the
I
do
same
think
all of
people,
that.
and people are
hunger
suffering.
start bracing people already. People are suffering already. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah. Let me just make this point. At Berbice there, myself and Arnold went up. And we chatted with a couple of people. And they wanted my card now, because a lot of them still haven't gotten their flood relief and so on.
uh,
But I told them that, what you want with my card now? I have been sending to you the message that if you're not paid, we can bring some litigation. And some of them are saying, no, are we gonna now bring the litigation? For we had 40-acre rice field. They only pay we for 10 acres, and they rob we. And they got some people, they got non-rice field. Then I got non-cattle, but they put in for cattle and they put in for rice field, and they get about $1 million. I say, yes, but y'all allowing the thing to happen. What's wrong with the Barbician conscience now? It happened somewhere at 35 Village and Eversham yesterday. And so it is, and then they start talking about what? The cost of living. Look, banga gone till me don't know what price, because and all kinds of the shrimps and price gone up, this, that. That's a nutrition for protein intake that the Barbicians rely on. And they seem not to getting the catches, as the fishermen have been saying. And Berbice is suffering, a lot of them. And, another serious one, a school teacher told me, Mr. Ramjatan, you know what this thing is also causing? It is causing a tremendous mental depression. Man can't mind your wife, you go hang yourself, or you cut the girl throat and this and that. One set of violence, domestic violence, inside of the house violence that is happening in Berbice now. Taking gramazone and drinking and this and that, killing themselves because his wife left him. And then also, big time, is the drunkenness. Drinks rum, oh Jesus Christ. They're talking about it all over the place, So much rum drinking has started back with the communities. They're not playing the cricket. COVID probably causing that. I don't know what. But they're drinking the liquor, beating up the wife, and it is continuing to suicidal levels
Gemraj,
now.
it may be because they were expecting a lot of sugar estates to be reopened that have not been. That might be the other
Absolutely.
story too. A lot of sugar estates were promised to be reopened. As soon as we come in, the first thing we're doing is
Yeah.
opening back the sugar estates.
So it is a hell of a problem in Berbice there, and I can empathize with them because in a land with so much money, so much suffering and punishment, and cost of living increases and standard of living decreases. Well, well, well. That is not what the PPP had promised in its manifesto and all of that. But there you have it. And their bad governance. Coming back to the question when people are cussing them down on this issue, which is part of the democracy, they're now charging them and persecuting them for stating that certain people are jagabats and trench crappos. Um, but it is a terrible situation that I,
Gemraj,
I, I am seeing for
I
myself.
think it was a businessman quite recently who painted a very stark picture for this country. They call him Crab Man, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking on social media about the impact of what is happening, and he was begging finale to adjust it,
Do
wherever it
some,
is. He
do
said, adjust it,
something.
Mr. President, wherever it is. Adjust it. He said, we're punishing it. He said, even if you make, he said you have to be a big seller to make him 40,000 a day. And instead of $40,000, now you own.
Mm.
That's now you own, right? You see, and he was lamenting the plight of every Guyanese. Because if he's a businessman and he is lamenting, imagine the consumer. What is
Yep.
our pain in this economy under these guys here?
Oh
And I
yeah,
think
we
he
met.
said, any more stack. He's not AFC. He's not APNU. He said, I'm not a politician, but this is how I feeling.
Mm.
And there be impacts all over the construct. I forgot to mention the fact that I met also a carpenter because I might be doing some construction myself, and all of them are saying that this construction thing is in disarray too. People now can't afford some of the prices for cement and steel, and the transportation costs for sand, and a whole lot of other things, even the board, wood, lumber, all of that gone up almost 100%. And
Yep.
it is amazing. It has stopped investment. It has stopped people making up their houses and so on. Or even if you still got to go do it, instead of spending a $4 million, you got to spend about $7 million now. And it is affecting so many
Yep.
things.
Yep.
So that is why my good friend Ashni Singh, when he went to Parliament and said that he went to Skeldon Market and talked to some lady, and the lady said life is special. I don't know why them fellas could lie so, buddy. I just can't understand how Jack Dale himself can say there has been never better times in Guyana. Everybody, when they compare that 5 year as against what is happening now for the last 18 months, some of them shame for talk. Met some of them too. They don't want to come forward and talk. But that is how it is. And they're going to cuss between themselves and they're going to talk all kind of thing. But they're seeing it for themselves, Barbicians, what it is, that how hell they're going through hell here right now. And so I
Mm.
want to make a point of it to tell them, Bora price, that because of the flood and so on, it went up high. Come down a little now, but it still hasn't gotten down back to where people can afford to have the kind of solid meals that they are. Pork price gone up, beef, chicken, everything, fish, everything. So what's happening to the household? And the prices for their labor have not gone up. Their labor prices.
Gemraj, allow me to say this, that last year, this time, it was late January, early February, we were discussing the second budget. I
Mm,
think it was in the second budget, if not the first. As part of your presentation, you were talking about Bora price and they were laughing you in the parliament.
that's right.
You were
That-
talking about how these little commodities, make a big difference and how the price for this, a slight adjustment and so forth, could be a big worry for people. And I remember those guys on the other side of the aisle laughing in parliament. They're laughing now. They're laughing now. I was by a border market the other day. Myself and my wife went, and we saw a nice bunch of plantains there. And honestly, I hear about this planting price high, but I experienced it for myself. I remember asking the guys how much for this planting, how much for a 2 or 3 pounds. When the guy told us the price, Juritan Kemraj, I trying to decide in my mind, am I gonna leave the car? Am I gonna leave my wife, or I can carry this planting? You understand? I was shocked. I was shocked. Boy, you used to buy him for the whole bunch with. Now it's for 2 and 3 pounds. Things are great out there, you know. Things are great. And Crabman said it the best. He said he's surprised that a lot of people sit down and taking it. And that's
They
why
shame, they shame.
he was lamenting, he was frustrated, he was cussing up Premaj in this video. And he said, I shocked that so much of your heart sit down there and you are taking it. And it's because of what you said there. The shame, the truth.
They shame. I saw it there
But
yesterday, me and Arnold. We saw it.
They shamelessly defend some of the things. You know, something even when you do your live and when we're on to these lives they shamelessly come on the lives to defend ludicrous. Basically, it's like I find it quite amazing that people just don't have an argument, a constructive argument
And going
against
by the market and buying half pound of planting when you used to buy 3 and 4 pounds.
going
Yeah.
at the market and can't afford to buy planting, not buying
But
half
let
for
me
planting.
but let me add to
When
that.
last you check the price of cabbage? When last you check the
Yeah,
price of
yeah,
cabbage? When
yeah.
last you check the price of cooking oil? I am these are the items that have exorbitant increases in their prices is like ridiculous.
Judy, let
Over
me add to let, let me
300%
add to that,
increase
you
in
know.
planting, serious?
They say even a broken clock is right twice per day, right? David Granger, who led this country for 5 years successfully, point us in the direction of planting. He said, y'all go into planting, but we didn't listen.
Yeah,
We
no,
didn't
no.
listen.
I remember there were 4 P's: plantain, pumpkin, peppers, and prawns. That we were trying as best as possible to promote the production of. I hope that Irfan Ali, I know Zulfikar at a private little conversation we had said he's promoting that. And I noticed that there have been some projects. But in the promotion of it, you got to ensure it is sold at reasonable market prices. Otherwise, you're going to be producing and people not going to buy. And if they're not consuming it, you're going to have a problem. Even the investment might go bankrupt as a result.
But
So there is need for entrepreneurial support in these big projects because we know sugar dead, literally dead. And more the sugar workers in Albion and all of them places are seeing that for themselves. Because again, although is $11 billion, did you see the newspaper reports that they're asking for some more support 2022 to keep operational matters going? That is what Zulfika, probably another $11 billion. How could you put so much money there? And so you got to now come out of the sugar from S to P's, some other thing. But it got to be productive lands that will be utilized. And Gaisuko has plenty of those lands. So the diversification must be there. I see they gone into corn production. That is excellent. As Shadow Minister for Agriculture, I think it is wonderful because that corn could produce the protein for the chickens and so on. So we could have a viable chicken industry as we have right now. But we must not now go allow people to bring in chicken into Guyana, bring in cauliflower, bring in carrots, bring in all of them things, bring in even mangoes from Brazil and bananas. Could you
Well,
imagine?
they ain't planting just now.
And now these people that are
I think it may
producing
be
it,
cheaper, Shara, to bring it in. Actually, it's actually going to.
and it is their big businessmen friends, you have to have a policy of kind of local content in agriculture too. Local content. And the relevant substitute is what we want. Now, you go in and bring from America or wheresoever that produce these things on a grand scale, far cheaper. What will happen to our producers in Guyana? And, since we are out of government, this thing has been given back to us, whole set of other people. I noticed a big Christmas time. If you see apples and grapes and all of that, we used to have it. I could agree. You have to bring it in. But when you get 6 billion Guyana dollars in cauliflower and what was it? Carrots coming in, $6 billion. If you get like the Trinidadian people had done after they saw what was happening there, in the Trinidadian arrangement, They allowed certain subsidies for the planting of these crops and so on, and they started planting. The producers started getting them. And
Yep.
although the price was a little higher than the American product or wheresoever it is, it's coming from, whether it's Thailand or China or wheresoever, the producers could have lived. And then fellow used to go to work with cars and so, vans and so on, they could have buy because of the carrots they're producing. What we got here? So this thing is all distorted and not properly organized. And I believe that we got to tell Barbicians that, they are very good in farming, livestock and poultry and all that. That is where, besides the oil, you got to get your economy, agro processing, and a whole lot of other things like that. So it is important that Barbicians understand how wrong the PPP's policies are, because it is not only affecting the entrepreneurs within the farming community, it is also affecting their consumer habits. They can't eat that amount of bora that they used to eat under APNU AFC. And they must understand where the cause is coming from. It is from these vagabonds and trench crappos.
I want to actually add in something right now, because I know you touched a bit on the agriculture, what Zulfikar is doing. And I actually had I sit at all from, apart from the Public Accounts Committee, where I'm a member of, another parliamentary committee that I'm on is the Economic Services Committee. We have been looking at the Ministry of Agriculture. Actually, last Wednesday, the minister and his team actually came to answer questions. The politics was there practically the entire meeting. It was a back and forth about how the question should and should not be asked and answered and so forth. But something came up that I want to mention on this program here, because one of the things that was revealed is that the Ministry of Agriculture is in the process of looking at agricultural they're looking at I'm hearing something in the background. Sorry about that. The minister was actually speaking about some of their plans moving forward, and he was speaking about agricultural insurance, right? And they were speaking about the fact that they're in discussions with a company about having agricultural insurance. So for me, I'm always interested in anything that is going to be beneficial to the people. If it's something that's going to be beneficial to farmers, I want to hear more about it. But when I went into the questioning aspect of it, I was finding out what company is this. We were told that at that committee that it is actually Grace Kennedy. It's Grace Kennedy is looking at this. So I'm asking, like, where else do they do this? So I learned that they piloted a program in Jamaica, and now Guyana wants to get on board with that program. So naturally, technology is beautiful. I don't attend these meetings without my computer. So I immediately did a quick research on it, and what I realized was the pilot project in Jamaica it started less than 6 months ago, so there hasn't been any payout as yet. So I cautioned of course the minister on his approach and going forward with this, because you would know, when you're talking about insurance and a private sector generally, they it may be something that comes out good and all of that, but it's something that we need to be very careful with how we go into it. If this pilot project it's less than 6 months old, and basically there is no evidence of how their payout work and so on and so forth. So naturally, my questions is, what consultations are you planning to do? So the minister responded and said, well, he's been meeting with people, and they're excited about it. So I said, no, I am asking what specific consultations you're having with farmers as it relates to this. There is none. I can just tell you. There is none. So basically, if they go somewhere to do something, you can get the little gaff and you can throw it in, and that he considered that a consultation. No, something to that magnitude cannot be treated at that level. My other question that I'm asking is, like, my most important question for me is who's going to be paying the premium for this? And he said, well, part of the premium would have to be paid by the farmer. So I said, but when you guys took over, you said you were taking away costs from the farmers, You said that you're removing costs, you reduce the cost of land and whatever. That was what you did. So now you're going to tell the farmers that they need to be paying a part of an insurance premium. Like, how does that work? And people need to understand what is going on here right now, because again, I'm totally in support of anything that benefits the farming community altogether. I know the company Grace Kennedy is well known. Grace Kennedy does Western Union and all of that, very reputable um company. But I'm saying that the minister put it over as though he was going into this brilliant idea that he came up with, and it's just ridiculous, because the company is now having to lobby governments throughout the Caribbean, because I think they're trying to do a CARICOM in farmers insurance, which is very commendable. But I want to caution the Guyanese people in how we move forward with this. And it's not about what is being done, it's about how. The how is always the issue with the way in which the PPP does it. And the minister basically could not answer a question. He said he's now when questions are asked that he can't answer, he said, well, they haven't gotten to that as yet. Because my question was, and I'm thinking about the $10 billion that they collected we had the issue with the flooding and farmers. So my question was, so if it's, because he says not mandatory, if it's not mandatory for persons to sign on to this insurance, then the people are paying half, well, part, I don't know if it's half. The people are paying half, part, the farmers, and the government is going to be paying the other part. So now, how do you separate the cushioning that government is going to be giving moving forward? Are you going to give money out to everyone in terms of a disaster, and then the persons who are insured also getting money because you're paying part of the premium? But the minister didn't have answers for those questions. He said at that stage he didn't have answers, but those are things that we have to be looking into very carefully as they move forward, because it's going to it's going to have a direct effect on the farming community.
Jureta, let me come in here because it is not the first time. It might be the first time that Zulfi has been asked to deal with and design agri insurance policy. But it came up after the 2005 Great Flood in Guyana. And indeed, a number of people inside of the PPP then, myself included, wanted an insurance regime so that if floods, because we were hearing about climate change all since them times that we were hearing about it, and the flood hitting Guyana was an actual flood that hit Guyana there as part of the climate, whatever change and all of that. So we started that. We asked the business people in Guyana to start thinking about it. And they were saying that if indeed they are going to do what is called the insurance and so on, the farmers will have to pay a lot of upfront premiums, big time. It will be an additional cost. And if all the farmers are now compelled to join in a compulsory insurance for flood insurance or agriculture insurance, whatever it is, even if it's not flood, it could be dry weather. Dry weather also affect crops, right? So whatever it is, would they be in a position to pay that kind of premium when the insurance company says that, okay, for 1 acre, you got to pay 20,000 per annum as the premium rate. And when they calculated the thing just broke up like that because you could not pay, the farmers could not pay. And if they want to bring that up now, well, it is crazy because I don't see farmers having that capacity. Farming insurance happens in, where there are real big kind of cultivations and so on. Those people might want to pay. But even the insurers do not want to take the risk. That was the other problem that we had. And the thing died a death in about 2007, just 2 years after it was proposed for a design. So this is a lot of gaff. Jack don't know about it because he had asked us to go and talk to the insurers. I went and talked to a couple insurance people that I had known and so on. They said the risks are too much. And even when they do the reinsurance with the big companies, whether it be Lloyd's International in London and wherever, they don't want to hear about any of them things that. Because this thing, and then also the interpretation when a farm is affected by flooding. Because if it is not necessarily a national disaster, but a localized disaster. So many variables come into the thing. And of course, the local people didn't want it. They said they can't get reinsurance overseas and so on, and the thing died. But it is a lot of gaff for Zulfi and the government to say that we're dealing with these issues, we're dealing with these issues. But it is a replay of something that will not exist, that will
That
never
sounds
be
like Frank.
designed. There's a lot
That
of
sounds like
gaff.
Frank on COVID.
Yeah, well,
We're
similarly,
getting to that. We're
similarly.
getting to it.
Well, we should go there because we have another 10 minutes. And I wanted, I don't know if you got the statistics, but in Berbice, that is a big, big thing too. I understand Berbice was one of the places where you didn't have so much COVID, but this Omicron apparently is there. And a lot of people, and I went up there because of two of my relatives having died of the COVID too at 47 Village. And I noticed that a number of other villages having deaths because of the COVID. And they were fully vaccinated, I must tell you. And it is, of course, I want to warn people must be socially distancing, people must be wearing their mask, people must take their vaccinations and so on. But to a certain extent, the other thing is that we have to see how best family members, when they are at that Liliendal hospital there, that family members could get to talk to those members. If they could put in a kind of a video or a Zoom like we got, and the moments that they're more lucid, so that the family members can zoom in and talk to the people. Somehow I feel that that is a way out, because the poor person that died here, they couldn't even talk to their children for about 5-6 days, and then they died. And, nothing happened. But in those times that they could have spoken or whatever it is, some humanistic method be used so that they could talk to their families. Because I understand no family member could go into the hospital. And that is a wise thing, because you don't want nobody to get the thing. But by video or something, the doctors there or the nurses there can humanist, with more humanely arrange for the family members to see their dying ones, or the ones that are so severely ill, and talk to them and so on.
I see the
Yeah, but
statistics
it was a
here.
bad day. Yeah, it was a
Now
bad
was
day for
just like,
COVID. Right there,
it
Rita.
was because I'm actually looking at the statistics here posted 2 hours ago by the Ministry of Health, and it is saying that for the number of new cases is 1,065 new cases, right? Um, and those numbers they're not going down, but we don't expect to see the numbers go down when we have super spreader events being hosted right here in the city. We would have had the case of at the sports hall, which is a very,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
sad case
The
Super
altogether,
futsal,
spreaders.
the
Yep,
futsal,
yep.
futsal
It's
competition. Yeah.
crazy. For Barbies in particular, the distribution of those numbers, it's to date it's 4,673. That's region 6. So the numbers are only going up all the time. And it's, I know that persons are saying that this new variant, the Omicron, is it's not as deadly, but it's way more contagious, but persons are we still need to be very careful in how we conduct ourselves. We need not just go and confront danger, let us not try to test our system or immunity um altogether. Let us just be way careful. We can see basically that the Ministry of Health has absolutely nothing under control when it comes to dealing with COVID-19. Nothing's under control, Sherry. There's no system in place. You would have spoken to the fact that person, the father had to take physically fetch the body of his child from the hospital in Mabaruma to the burial ground, because the Ministry of Health has absolutely no system in place, not even to transport the body of a child that died from COVID-19. So that's a lost cause. Every time we say that it can't get any worse, it's just we've been proven wrong. It just keeps getting worse and worse every single day. The schools are open right now, and every time a child is sent to school, you're risking them coming home sick, and the teachers are getting sick. These are what people are not talking about. Since school have opened, endless children have gotten ill and had to stay home. Endless teachers have gotten ill and had to stay home. But of course, that the I think that if I'm not mistaken, it was the president himself that said that they can't close back the schools. So they're not looking at the preservation of health, human health and lives altogether. They're just concerned about making sure that there is enough activity out there, specifically economic activity, hence the futsal that you're talking about, Shara. They want to make sure that those activities go on, and they're carried out, because it's a private sector driven government. They're just there to make profit at any means necessary.
Yep. I can't disagree with you there at all. Um, but we gotta get this COVID under control. And again, it is up to all of us, all the stakeholders, including the private sector. They have a very important role to play in national development, but it can't be overbalanced in any direction at all. The government has its role to play, and a very, very chief role as being one of the largest stakeholders in public health. And I don't think we are in the front. We're leading from the front where COVID-19 is concerned. The guys had a COVID task force when they were in opposition. They refused to come on the government's task force. They said they had better ideas than us. They could manage it and so forth. And we're still waiting. These
Yeah,
many
it's
months,
true. It's
we're still
true.
waiting.
And I think that they are being persuaded and influenced again by those chaps that help them clean up the city today, the private sector, especially an elite section of the private sector that want to
Yeah.
open up their bars and restaurants and things like that, and who want to go and gallivant until late in the hours, even passing curfew time. So that is not the way. We have to start considering, because Omicron, now that it has hit Guyana, is going to have a very steep rise unless we do a couple of lockdowns. I would like the government to start considering some lockdowns for certain weekends, especially Fridays, Saturdays, and so on, for the next 3 or 4 weeks, because it is there where you got super spreaders. Ask the casino, look, the hours got to be earlier, and so on. But they don't want that. And that is why this thing is going to be, and for all you know, with Guyanese, the thing could be mutating, and from Delta to Omicron, you can get some other thing. And we wouldn't be able to manage it there.
The IHU, that's a new
That
one.
is a big, big thing, because I have asked some doctor, they say, yes, once you have so many thousands people happening, this thing happen, it could then, what you call, mutate,
Yeah.
metamorphose into something completely different that they ain't got the cure for. And it could happen in any village, it could happen in any country, just like it would happen in China, as they're saying, in Wuhan and whatever. So we got to be careful. Let the rates come down by lockdowns. And the business community got to understand that it's a price you got to pay, either for livelihoods or lives. Which one you prefer? And the thing is,
Yeah.
6 people dead today too. I think the
Correct.
deaths for
Including a
today is 6.
3-year-old.
Yeah,
Including
including
a
a little
3-year-old.
infant. So we gotta work better. We gotta be responsible as individuals, but the state and the business friends must also come together. Let's be united to save lives. Because what's the
Yes.
use? You can make back that money when them people just survive and they buy your stuff and things like that. But if they're dead now, you ain't got nothing to win back. So it is important that we start thinking of some lockdowns.
Yep. Unfortunately, we're out of program time, and I want to thank all our credible viewers, or valid viewers rather, or all of our valid viewers, and our all the credible comments we're seeing there. There's some very colorful comments too, but we appreciate all of it. We can live with the trench crappos, we can live with the jagabats. This country belongs to all of us. It belongs to us. It belongs to the trench crappos and the jaguars. We got to coexist as a country. So we don't mind some of the negative comments that we're seeing there. Final thoughts, 30 seconds each as we wrap up.
Well,
I want
Doretta, sorry.
I'll just close by saying like you rightly said, we're very thankful for the person that come on and view the program. We're on every Saturday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And you know the best part about it, shared, is that regardless of the negative comments from time to time that persons may have want to put on, the good part is that they're here and they're listening, and they have to answer for themselves, so that they know that this is what is going on. So if they blindly move forward in a different direction than what we advise, it's on them when they can't afford to cook for their children. It's on them when they're seeing their loved ones getting sick, because we're here and they have received the information. So we have done our part in getting the information over to them. So again, have a good night. Thank you for having me on the program, guys.
Well, thanks to Sharon. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here every Saturday night talking to my brethren and sisterin in Berbice. And it is important. Important, too, to also accept, because remember, in this liberal democratic order that we live in, Sharon and Juretta, we have to accept and acknowledge and take into consideration and take into account all the criticisms that we get. Criticism is the only way that a democracy will work. If you don't have dissenting views, if you don't have the insulting language that could come or the offensive language that can come, freedom of expression will not be a pillar that sustains this democracy. It will be taken away. So you got to allow. Cherry used to teach us all about that. Them Borbicians should know a man called Cherry Jagan. But like everything that he stood for now, them Jagabats and them the Transcrapos, they want to take away. And so we must not allow that to happen. We have to ensure that there is no servility to these elites that are now governing us. And we now shame for talk and so on. Borbicians apparently discuss a living thing like them shame for talk. But you got to have a conscience. And the conscience will compel you to speak out. You can still vote for them, but come out and talk that they're doing nonsense. Because when you come out and talk that you're doing nonsense, Borbicians, they're going to want to correct themselves because they're going to frighten that you might stay home next elections or you might vote against them. So by speaking out, you will have a better day. Silence is violence. Stop the violence, Borbicians. Thank you and a very good night.
Great, guys. That's our program. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe.